terms of trade rumors, and that's Odell Beckham Jr. He's already been dealt once by the New York Football Giants, and now might the Cleveland Browns follow suit. Him and Baker Mayfield have yet to get on the same page, and OBJ having the worst season of his career. Here's Browns coach Kevin Stefanski.
I do. Yeah, I do. And I base that off of what I see from him each week. And again, I just think he can affect the game, and that's where I'm really making sure that myself, our coaches, we have to put him in position to make some plays. You're not going to like to hear it, but I need to do a better job. And we scored 10 points, so I certainly have to do a better job there.
All right, Marcus, I'm going to start with you. Who deserves the blame for OBJ's struggles?
It's Kevin Stefanski, the guy that you just saw, because you got to figure out ways to get him involved in the game. And I like that he acknowledged the fact that he had to do a better job. But the bottom line is, and we talked about this earlier today with Jeff, OBJ just doesn't fit what they want to do from an offensive standpoint. I'm a firm believer in that. Yeah, it's easy to say he's still talented and we should be able to get him the ball, but obviously that's not a priority. It's not like this is the first situation where we talking about OBJ not only being targeted, the number of targets that he received, but the number of the production that he has the ability to give to the Cleveland Browns as well. This is a run-oriented football team. It's a quarterback that's being asked to make plays throughout the duration of a game, but not be the catalyst for them winning. This is offensive line, running back centric offense where they want to operate with possession guys, not guys that really blow the top off of a defense, not guys that create all of these explosive plays. And that's what Odell Beckham Jr. is. I'm not sure if Odell Beckham Jr. is a run intermediate route, short routes, deep routes all game long. Maybe he's diminished to a guy that can run deep routes and get open. Or maybe he's diminished to a guy that you got to get the ball in his hands immediately and then allow him to make plays. I don't know. What I do know is this. He was targeted one time. One catch in this past game. Are you kidding me? I know for a fact, before I watched the tape, that there was more opportunities to get Odell Beckham Jr. involved. And maybe he just doesn't fit what you want to do, not only from a scheme standpoint, but from the guys you have on your team. So
all right,
trade
guys.
him.
All right, guys. First of all, let me be very, very serious here. And I'm going to open up by saying I'll defer to the both of you, but I'm going to give you my honest, heartfelt opinion based on what I've seen, because I've watched a lot of Cleveland this year. Odell's got to go. You got to get him up out of there. There's no reason on earth for him to be a Cleveland Brown. And I blame Baker Mayfield. And I'm going to tell you why I blame Baker Mayfield. People look at Baker Mayfield and we talk about him being an average quarterback, but he's not a scrub. He's got a lot of moxie. He can make some throws, and his pass indicates that he's a winner, et cetera, even though on the NFL level, it's a little bit different and far more challenging. And there's a plethora of quarterbacks that you can look at that you could say are better than Baker Mayfield. That's not where I'm going, Jeff Saturday. That's not where I'm going, Swaggo. I'm thinking about what I've learned through my years of reporting on football, and more importantly, talking to guys like yourself about the game and what the expectation is of a quarterback when it comes to the relationship with the receiver. And you can see that the relationship between Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. is virtually non-existent. There is no chemistry. There's no cohesiveness. There is no feeding of the ego, because we got a quarterback whose ego, I believe, is just as big as the ego of that wide receiver. I think all of that comes into play. And so what does that lead to? That leads to minimal amount of targeting, which we saw this past weekend when Odell Beckham Jr. was only targeted once. We also see a guy in Odell Beckham Jr. whose spirit just ain't in it. And he's like this: I'm going to go over the middle and I'm going to take this hit. I'm 28. I'm turning 29 years of age November 5th, if I remember correctly. I got a future. I know the last time I played the full season, I had 1,000-yard season, back-to-back seasons. I know that I can still fly. I know I can still be a deep threat. I know that I can still be a playmaker. But for this guy, that's what we're looking at when we look at the Cleveland Browns. And I'm looking at Andrew Berry, and I'm looking at Kevin Stefanski, and I'm like, what the hell are y'all doing? Are you trying to win or you not?
Right.
Because clearly, Odell Beckham Jr. doesn't want to be there. He doesn't believe in Baker. Baker, for some reason, doesn't want to feed him. We understand it. This is about them. It's not really about Kevin Stefanski per se. I know he's the coach, and I know he's responsible, Marcus Spears, and I know the running game with Chubb and Kareem Hunt when he's in there. That's the priority, and he doesn't fit what they do, and I get that. But what I'm talking about is a relationship that exists between the quarterback and the receiver. When that receiver knows he's coming to me,
Stephen,
that's not
when
going to be the case.
he does get fed, does he make the most of it?
No, he hasn't lately. He was injured in the past, but in the past we weren't saying that. We've talked about Odell Beckham Jr. This is the first year we've talked about actual slippage. All those other years we talked about injuries. We're talking about actual slippage now. You know why? Watch it. Slow it down. We all got DVRs, Jeff. We all got DVR swaggle. Slow that bad boy down. And the Odell Beckham Jr. that used to go like this now goes like this.
Yeah.
The Odell Beckham Jr. used to go up, now goes here. The Odell Beckham Jr. that used to sit up there and sacrifice his body, he ain't doing that. There's something there that he's saying, you ain't worth it. And so when you hear rumors, he want to go to Green Bay, he want to go to Kansas City, of course, Tampa Bay, something. You know what he is? He wants to go where a quarterback is because
100%.
he don't believe in the guy that he's playing with. And if you're Cleveland and you know that's the case, why are you keeping him there? The deadline is today. Let that man go. Odell Beckham Jr. is in a spiritual prison right now as we speak. He is miserable in Lake Erie. Let him go.
Jeff, where are you on this? Are you blaming Baker as well?
No, definitely not Baker Mayfield. And listen, I understand the relationship. Y'all, this is professional football. I ain't got to like you to play good with you, right? There's a lot of dudes in the locker room don't like each other. Ain't got to have good relationships. I blame Stefanski and I blame OBJ himself. I blame both of those two guys. And I'll tell you why. When you set up on Mondays and you have offensive install, every receiver and every playmaker on your football team, you set aside 4 plays, 5 plays a game. How do we get him open? How can we get OBJ the ball? We can motion him. We can put him in different sets. We can formation him where we know he's going to get a favorable matchup against a defensive back or against a defensive call that we know that we can exploit the defense. They don't do it. To Stephen A's point, at one target, and then I'll go to OBJ's side. When he has had the opportunity to make plays, he has not made them. And to Stephen A's point, it may be because he's in a dark place with the football team and does. But you are auditioning for the ones you want to go play for. And you, as a professional, you got to show up and go play. The route over the middle this weekend was disappointing for me. And like Stephen A. said, it's a little half-hearted, right? They get bailed out because of roughing the passer. But this play, you got to go up with 2 hands and make that play. Look, we've made all defensive players basically, they're basically watching the game when somebody makes it. You can't hit him. Like, go up with 2 hands and go make that play. He decides not to. On some of the other stuff early on, those highlights when it was showing to he's getting pushed out of bounds by the defensive back. You can't have that. And if you're a guy who's evaluating him to bring him on your team from Kansas City, from Green Bay, the tape don't lie. The eye in the sky don't lie, man. And I get you might not be in the best situation, but you have to present the best version of you so that I want to bring you on my team. So from a Mayfield may not like him. He may not like Mayfield. Again, I have played with guys who don't like each other. Guess what? We still won a bunch of games because it was
Before
Swaggle
gets back, I'll ask this and I'll throw this question to both of y'all.
Okay.
I totally understand your point, Jeff, and I agree with you in general. But when you say playing with guys that you don't like, were they guys that you had to depend on? I know everybody's a part of the team and the team wins the game. But a wide receiver can't do anything without his quarterback. And a quarterback can't do much if you don't catch the ball. So there's a synergy that is supposed to exist. And when that doesn't exist, that's a case where I understand animosity. I understand dissension or whatever, because you're dependent on that person. You could be a linebacker and the guy and your cornerback ain't getting the job done. But that don't stop your ability to go at the quarterback, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
My point is that you're a quarterback, you're a wide receiver. There has to be synergy. And when there is none there, I think that's the one ideal case in football where dissension and fragmentation and those kind of things are things that I clearly understand. Y'all response to that?
Yeah, I'm with you, Stephen A. on the psyche of it, and
Yeah.
and also like I'm with Jeff too. I understand, like as a player, man, you individually are being evaluated as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
Like so OBJ has to absolutely hold up his end of the bargain. Where I will go and what I like that you said, Stephen A. is that rapport, man.
Yeah.
Because we all human now. Like we could talk about football in the context,
Yeah.
but when you done run 20 routes and you done got one ball, you gonna be out of it a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Like if you, to your point, Jeff, you and Peyton had y'all epic spat on the sideline.
Oh, sure.
Because at some point, hand the damn ball off. We
Right.
roll grading these dudes. Hand
Yeah.
it off and stop throwing. So it happens in the NFL. And to speak on it when it comes to Baker Mayfield and OBJ, which I'm 100% agreeing with you, Stephen A., there is no synergy. There is no confidence.
Yeah.
There is nothing that's manifesting between them two that tells you it's going to get better going forward. That's why he needs to find
Marcus, let
another
Jeff
way.
in. Go ahead.
And listen, I agree with both of you. My problem is that should have come from the head coach. Like you can create chemistry by feeding him. Like a guy like OBJ, you know when you bring him to your organization. Like Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, two guys, one's in the Hall of Fame, one will be in the Hall of Fame. We fed them dudes. Like
Yes.
we got them touches. We force-fed those guys to keep them in the game. You don't deny them the ball the first half and then think in the third quarter you're going to come to them the first time and they're going to make a play. Like it don't work that way. People can say, "Oh, they're so." No. That is the mindset of the position. If they're open, they want the rock. So I do agree with Stephen A. and you on that point. So I go, if you're open, take the shot, man. Come to me. But I go to Stefanski, man. That's got to be created from you as the offensive play caller. Like, get the guy touches, make it easy, make it where Mayfield can't screw it up, right? Like, force that play to be had. That's the part that's frustrating. Because listen, you are not a better team by letting OBJ go. I'm just telling you, from the Cleveland Browns now, they may do it to Stephen A's point and your point. It may be the best thing for OBJ, but from the Browns' perspective, they're better with OBJ than without.
I think they're better off without him now because I think he's so demoralized. His presence in that locker room.
And you know what?
In that locker
He
room.
hasn't had a touchdown in over a year.
He does
right?
not. He does
Plus,
not
he's missed
want to,
2 full seasons essentially due
He
to
does not
injury
want
in
to be
terms
there.
of games.
He
He's
does-
already been traded once.
He does not want to be there.
He
does not want to be there.
That is disheartening.
We got to leave it there. Still to come on First Take, we've had a good sample size of Patrick Mahomes this